Today we are learning the purl stitch, like I said. For this one, we need the exact same supplies as last time, so I'm not even gonna cut together footage of me like picking up all the supplies like I do. So the beginning of this swatch is exactly the same as the garter stitch, so I'm just gonna briefly go over what's needed for that. And if you need a more in-depth review of how that goes, just refer back to that previous video on the garter stitch. So like I said, we start off as we did before, casting on 15 stitches. Then, for the first row, we knit all stitches. When we get to the end of this row, we prepare to start row number 2, and this is where the purl comes into play. Ordinarily, we would just insert the needle into the stitch going away from ourselves and having the working yarn behind the needle. For purling, however, we're going to drape the working yarn over the needle and insert the needle coming toward ourselves. We then wrap the needle with the yarn, slide that to the back like so, and then slide this stitch off the needle on the left and onto the needle on the right. Again, we insert the needle on the front of the stitch, wrap the working yarn around like so, push that yarn to the back, and then slide that stitch off the left needle. For row 2, you purl all stitches until you reach the end. Then, for row 3, you go back to what we were doing before and just knit all 15 stitches. Every odd row, like the one that we would have just finished, is one where you would knit all stitches. Every even row is one where you would purl all stitches. A good way to know with this stitch is that when you are seeing the bumpy side facing you, it's a purl row, and when the little V's are facing you, it's a knit row. This introduces the idea of a right side and a wrong side to the fabric. As you knit a flat piece like the one that we're currently working on, every row flips the garment over. In this stitch, the purl side is the wrong side and the knit side is the right side. Once it is at a good length, you will cast off as you did before and you have a completed swatch. Here you can see side by side the difference between the knit stitch and the garter stitch. I think the garter stitch is pretty ugly in comparison to the stockinet stitch, but a lot of that is just personal preference and probably just me not wanting to be basic. And that is all for the stockinet stitch. My wife calls it the Stockinet Stitch, like how Nadia from New Girl calls Mickey Mouse Mick Mouse, which I really like. Next time we're learning the seed stitch, and then after that we start the scarf.